So we're about to talk about something here that's what I consider to be one of the top, 2 or 3 most powerful models that I've ever learned. It took me about 10 years of looking at this before I got my head around it enough to be able to go, oh, okay, now I can start thinking and talking in it and so forth. I had to look at it a lot of different ways before it made sense to me. And it's a system of, well, it's a system of developmental psychology where you go from stage to stage and you develop through these paradigms, and it happens on the individual level and also happens on the collective level. And every level, up through about, let's just say there are 7 of them right now, with maybe an 8th that's emerging, it's a total paradigm shift of values, worldview, the way you deal with the world, the way you think, make decisions, communicate. It's a little abstract, okay? It's a little bit complex. Wyatt might be the smartest guy around on it. And I really mean that. He might be the smartest guy around on this thing. And we're considering what to do the next one of these programs that Wyatt and I teach in maybe 3 or 4 months. We're trying to figure out what the topic should be, and we've kicked around a lot of ideas. Now, we did this program on leadership because we wanted to do something that everyone could relate to, that was going to be important to everyone, that was, going to be something people would want to buy it because it would be like a direct, connection to money. I actually think that the model that we're going to give a brief overview right now. We're going to talk about how to apply it. I think that it might be like the context for all contexts in a way. Once you learn this model, then all the others fit inside of it, and then they all make sense. Like once you get this one, all the leadership models like lock into this, and then you go, oh, now I see. Oh, now it makes sense why that works, or why this person does that, or why this group in the company and this group are fighting, different values. Now we're thinking about doing this program. It would probably be another 5-day program like this one, like Wednesday through Sunday, and teaching this model for the whole thing, and creating what I would hope to be the best training on this model that exists, period, that's ever existed, that would really take you in depth on it. There are a couple of others that are out there right now. Ken Wilber talks about this model. He gives a good, kind of a brief introduction in his book, Brief History of Everything. Beck and Cowan talk about it in their spiral dynamics stuff. It's got some some kind of modern iterations, interpretations, but nothing I've seen that really explains it. And I honestly, I'll tell you, if I would have had what I know that Wyatt and I can do in 5 days, if I would have had it, 12, 13 years ago, it would have put me at least 10 years ahead in understanding this thing. And I think that I don't think that I'm the smartest person in the world, but I don't think I'm a complete idiot either. It took me a while to wrap my head around this because I was looking at it from different ways, and I never just sat Wyatt down and said, Wyatt, how the hell does this thing work? I kind of pieced it together, and we talked about it a little bit here and there. So based on what I'm saying here, please listen to what you're about to hear, but realize that if there's a leverage point in life that I've found, it's a set of models. It's understanding this model and this maybe 7 or so stage conception. And then after we talk about this right here, I'd like to get your feedback and ask you whether or not it's something that we should do the next one on. If you feel like that as well, because we're faced with a little bit of the conundrum of, do we do the next program on something like personal success that everyone's going to want to come to and spend money on, or do we make a longer term decision where it might not be as big of a hit in the short run because we're going to have to talk people into it and whatever, but we want to get the knowledge on tape and on video so that we can then build over time. So listen to what you're about to hear for the next 45 minutes or so, and think about it from this higher perspective that I just said, okay? Ask yourself, is this something you'd like to go in depth in and really learn, especially based on, what I've said, that it's probably one of the top models, period. It might be number one, but, very likely that it is, as far as I'm concerned. What do you think, Wyatt? Where's it at for you?
I would say it probably is number one.
Okay, so there you go, all right? But because it's a little weird, it's hard to kind of convince people of, how important it is, because it's not as easy to understand. And if we did make it, I'd kind of tune my mind to turning it into, putting a wrapper around it that made it more accessible to people, and that would give me the space to kind of think that through so that we could come up with a name and a way of marketing it that would make other people want it, and so forth. Okay, so think about that. So in this next section, we're going to step into the realm of developmental psychology. Developmental psychology. And developmental psychology is a new paradigm. It's a new way of looking at the world, because in developmental psychology, there are different, what you might call levels or strata, or levels that you evolve to and through. Now, we're not saying that one level is better than another, and if we say higher level or lower level, we just mean that kind of conceptually. It makes it easy to understand. I was having a conversation with Dr. Nathaniel Branden, who is famous for being kind of the father of modern self-esteem. He's written probably 10 books on the topic of self-esteem. He was Ayn Rand's protege. Really an interesting historical figure, someone that's affected the whole society's thinking in a way. And he said, if I had it to do all over again, I would have studied developmental psychology. And when he said that, I thought, wow, this stuff really is important. And these different paradigms, these developmental models that exist, are some of the most enlightening that I've ever found. And the one that we're going to talk about right now was created by a guy named Clare Graves. Wyatt will tell you a little bit more about him. And Graves was one of these incredible humans that spent decades hacking through an uncharted jungle to leave a path for the rest of us. And I don't think that even he realized just how profound and what a huge difference this could make. And I think we're just starting to wake up to it right now. And what he did is he asked people throughout their lives a series of questions. He did this very, what you might consider to be scientifically, right? Very hardcore science. And he asked them a series of questions about themselves and about their values and their views. And he would go check back in with them every few years through their life. And he found that the answers to the questions changed, but the answers changed over time in a predictable way. And through this, kind of looking at it from the inside, he was able to build these models and this stage conception. He realized that we humans, as we develop psychologically, as we develop what you might consider to be morally and ethically, our values change, our paradigms changed, and he made this initial map. And once you understand this map, and you understand how we go through the levels and how to get from one level to the next, it's incredibly enlightening. I used the metaphor before, if you're trying to get around in San Francisco and you don't have a map, you don't know where you're at. To me, this map is kind of like if you were in San Francisco and you didn't have a map and you didn't know how to speak any language and you were trying to get somewhere, how valuable it would be to have the language and the map. Like, this is such a comprehensive and high-level map. Another thing you're going to get insight from with this map is why individuals and groups of individuals get into conflicts and how this works. And you're going to see that they're literally looking through different sets of glasses or different reality perspectives to see the world, and their values and their paradigms really conflict, and that's why it happens. And you'll see why these things change over time and why they evolve and why it's complex. The thing that I love about this map is that even though it's relatively abstract, it's actually pretty simple once you get it. Okay, once you get it. So stay with it, do your best to understand it, revisit it often. Okay, this is something that I've been coming back to for over 10 years now, and it keeps getting more and more and more profound to me. Okay, this is a piece of wisdom right here. This is something that we want to study for life. And with that, Wyatt, do you want to introduce Graves' developmental model?
Okay, normally I would take 2 or 3 days to teach this.